Good morning, everyone. John471 here to discuss the S&P 500. Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. Allow me to read our disclaimer. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Let's begin today, as we always do, with our news. As mentioned, today is Tuesday, June 3rd. On the calendar today, during U.S. hours, we do not have an 8:30 data point today. Instead, really nothing until 10 a.m., where we have durable goods and factory orders. Moving on later in the day, we still don't have a whole bunch, a few Treasury announcements, and then we do get Lagarde speaking at noon. Not sure if that'll be anything, but that's happening. We also have Goolsbee at 12:45, and we have a White House press briefing at 1 to be aware of. Cook is also speaking, as we can see here, and Logan at 3:30 in the final hour. So that's the data we have today. I also mentioning, the big data that we're waiting for is obviously our employment report on Friday, which is going to be the big driver today. But that's our situation on this Tuesday. Let's move on to our chart. Okay, so here we are on our composite chart of the S&P 500, daily bars, full session. And we're just kind of looking at the landscape here. And this, starting very zoomed out because I'm not sure if I fully am illustrating, the 5821 region and why it's the most, I'm paying attention to it. What we basically see is since this profile began, which is October 31st, 2023, this price here has been the most traded price. More contracts have went off at this price, and this is back adjusted, but more contracts have went off at this price or its equivalent in other futures contracts for the past few years, since October of 2023. So for that reason, it's, in my opinion, the most important price in this neighborhood of prices, which this neighborhood is 3 years old. So that's why I'm paying attention to it. And so for everyone that is traded here, what you have to keep in mind, if this is the most traded price, that means, if we're above it, more participants are actually doing pretty much okay. But if we get below it, a lot of participants are doing not so well. So that's something just to kind of be aware of. It's not directional, but it's something to be aware of. Even if most participants really feel good when price is above this and they think they're doing all right, we don't know who might be waiting here to sell. It could be whoever accumulated all of this and they need to sell. Or maybe they were able to sell everything they had during this retracement. Regardless, that's why I pay attention to the 5821s. It's our composite VPOC. Regardless, zooming in to where we are now, I've talked a lot about this island area that we're in, that we're trapped within. We're very balanced in this area. This is our MC VPOC in this area. Is right here in this very smaller area of trade. And you can see these are the 5821s, which I've noted that we're kind of holding bid. Our target above is the 6,000s. We touched the 6,000s overnight on news. Above the 6,030s are the next target if we are able to push. As long as we're holding this low, this kind of multi-day low that we see here, it is a market structure low, but it's not a market structure low in RTH, but it is here. But as long as we're holding this, I'm open to kind of some upward excursion. I don't think it's going to be a ton of price discovery, but I'm up for continuation higher as long as we're holding above this market structure low. If this market structure low breaks, I would expect to see a retest of the 5821 region. But that being said, the big thing to be aware of about all this, we're in accepted prices. This is balanced in here, as you can see right here. Balance turns to imbalance eventually at some point, but we don't know when. Let's move on to a smaller time frame chart and discuss this more specifically. Okay, so here we are on our market profile, excuse me, market profile chart is RTH only, kind of depicting our whole recent island area. The purple zone is the 5821 region right here. And this batch of 5 days is the most recent area that we've been trading. And we're kind of sandwiched between this high and this low. And we're just kind of in this island region. This is balanced. There is, as we've been talking about this area for a while. When we were trading, these few days, we said, okay, we're looking for the lows to be tested, and we tested them, and we just came right back. And so this area is pretty balanced. I mean, the way that we refuted the downside is taking notice. I am getting notice of it. We opened here, tested lower, reverted higher, and we settled higher. So that's pretty bullish in and of itself. That would suggest to me that if we're able to hold these single prints or reject tests below, that I would expect to see some upward excursion. That's a key idea for today. But opinions for me need to be fairly loosely held in all of trading, but especially when we see balance and like this, and we're hoping to see, we shouldn't hope, but it's possible to see a move out of this area. You need to be very careful to not hope for a move out of this area or expect a move out of this area until the prices and trades that are printing are showing you that it could be something that's happening. Don't just guess or want it to happen, which is something that people do more often than they like to admit. But anyway, just discussing these areas, as I kind of noted there, the big thing to be aware of, we're in a lot of balance here. It looked like we were refuting the upside. We expected to test the downside. We got it right here, but we came right back into balance, like I said, and settled higher. So these single prints left here in this zone will be pretty key for this trade, as will yesterday's high. Let's go to a smaller time frame chart and plan for specific price action. Okay, here we are on our intraday chart, showing the overnight session in lavender. This is a PNF chart, excuse me. What areas are important on this chart? Well, above yesterday's high, we have the prior week's high, RTH, right here, along with a naked VPOC. So these are clear targets just above the high. We also have this naked settle left as a target. And of course, this area of balance. This was done overnight on news, but the volume was not insignificant. And so this is a piece of structure that we're aware of with the VPOC around the 91s and the high of our balance full session at 08s. Here are the 30s, the target above that I mentioned. Below our prior range, we have this area, this gap partialed, which is the remaining part of the gap is right here. And that's the prior week's low also. So we're just kind of, we started very close to the prior week's low yesterday, and we're able to just nearly test the prior week's high. So that's something to be aware of. Are we looking to test either the prior week's extremes? Those are targets. But anyway, let's go to what we expect for today. Another big tell that we want to be looking at is the prior day's profile. It is a triple distribution. It's very clear too. Really nice triple distribution profile, where we see that we started here, tested higher, boom, traded lower, put in this distribution, rejected, traded up to here, seemed to accept prices for a while, and then eventually had to go higher. This is just understand what happened here. Right here, we opened and immediately sellers were like, well, I got to sell something. And buyers were like, well, we'll buy it. We'll buy all of it. And then right here, buyers were like, well, we still want to buy stuff. And sellers were like, well, this is all we have here. So the buyers had to go up higher. So it's just the buying started here, and we had to go the whole way to our balance high before those buyers were exhausted, or before we found sellers that were willing to get aggressive. So we're aware of that. The high, these 96s are a key high in this area. This is from 3 days ago. But anyway, the key reference for this profile is the single prints, is the unauctioned area, the single prints. And so how are we going to navigate this today? For me, well, here's how it goes. We're already below the single prints. So let's take a look at how this could go here. We're already below the single prints. I'm going to start with bullish ideas. Again, it doesn't really matter what I start with. Anything could happen. But we'll start with bullish ideas. What I'm seeing here, very really clearly defined LVN that reiterates those single prints. We have our overnight VPOC just below. So what this says to me, like what this is consistent to me is like we knew that there's sellers up here. Price pushed down. It looks like sellers really wanted to post that offer right here to get filled as much as they can, because that's exactly where everyone would want to buy it. Like we want to buy it right below the single prints in expectation of getting that continuation higher. Do we get the continuation higher? Well, how much do they have to sell? We don't know, versus how much are they willing to buy. But regardless, we have yesterday's VPOC right here. It's untested, just below the overnight low. So anyway, the key here, and we'll start with bullish ideas for no reason, but if this distribution eventually resolves higher, and that would probably, pretty good chance, actually we don't know, but it could, like I'm open to the overnight low being held, depending on how this happens. It could be, we could hold that low, we could get a quick test, but regardless, the big thing that I'm going to communicate here for bullish ideas, for structured bullish ideas, and this isn't hard to see, but if we get above these singles and we hold them, then I would expect or be up for a test of or towards the prior day's high and potentially the targets above, which are the prior week's high. So basically just that. Now, here's the thing. What happens if we get that test? How could this look like? What I think this could look like if that happens is I think it could be pretty grindy, pretty two-way, and then we just eventually get up there. That's one way it could happen. If it happens that way and we just kind of get up here with all this effort and everybody, a lot of small traders likely getting on this trade, don't be surprised. Excuse me, don't be surprised if we get up there and just fall right back down to the same area and have everybody start to think, oh, is this a pullback or what is it? But if we do that, we get up there and then we put in like a kind of market structure high with 3 highs, and that's either going to be indicative of balance to me or potentially a bit of an unwinding lower. So be aware of that. The alternative case is we get to this area, the prior week's high, however it happens, and instead of kind of doing this and falling over, you see us move up into this area, accept prices. Maybe we still get a deep pullback, but the key would be the pullback gets bought up and back to the prior week's high and is able to hold. In that event, I would be up for excursion higher. The targets are pretty clear. 60s, if we get through the 60s, the 82s, and then all of this amalgamation of targets here, the 87s for the prior month to get a new high for the month, last year's close, and the millennium figure. The balance high is 6,008, and above that, 6,031 if we get this trade. And so just to reiterate, that would be basically my structured idea if we get back above the singles and show support. Could this happen by taking the overnight low? Sure, we could just do whatever. Again, down here, we could just fall down, chop around for the whole day, and then just eventually get back above here when everyone's stopped out and fed up with trading, and then we get the move after that. So be aware that there are no time constraints on this. Let's discuss bearish ideas. So bearish ideas pretty clearly would just be the antithesis. The bearish ideas would be anything like the easy bearish idea would be if we just kind of hold here, give a quick test, reject it, and then boom, continue for the overnight low. That would be very easy. Just we poke our heads above the singles, quickly refute, and then we're right here taking the overnight low. Ideally, we get a trade. What's the next target? It's the VPOC, yesterday's VPOC. We'd expect some support here. This looks to be where buyers really came in. So if we get down to this area, I would be very cautious of a test into century that becomes a lick check right back to this 5616s areas, and this could become a nothing day. test higher, push down, test lower, below here, and just hang out here. Remember I said this is nothing day, number one. This is the nothing day. But if that doesn't happen, the more bearish way, ideally we get a test, rejection, starts to unwind lower, take the overnight low, check the VPOC. No buyers here. We try to get back above. We can't continue lower. If we start continuing lower, I'll be looking for tests of this HVN, left from yesterday's profile in the 90s. If that area cannot provide support, then guess what? Yesterday's low is on the table. If we take yesterday's low, as always, we are open to a lick check, which could just push us right back into balance after a check. We did check the high after hours, so breaking and running below the low is going to be less expected, but we could get a check. And if we are able to continue, obviously, clear targets, prior week's low, and then below that, the 21s, this gap zone. That would be the bearish ideas. Could we get bearish after taking the overnight high? Yeah, of course. Just, kind of the way I said, like we could push up to here, take this out. It looks great. Come back. Everyone's like, oh my God, they're giving us this pullback. It's amazing. And then we don't get to the high. And then you see this just kind of grindy and then release lower. This is a setup for the AP group. You'll probably recognize it. But that's what I'm thinking. So the nothing day, like I said, the nothing day would be a trade that overlaps value with this center distribution. That would be the nothing trade. Maybe it tests higher, maybe it gets the high, maybe it doesn't. Regardless, it gets refuted and then probably checks the VPOC. Looks like maybe we're going to break, but we don't, and then we end up in here. That's our nothing day to be aware of. Okay, 17 minutes, intensely long for a fairly boring day, so I'm going to cut it off here. But hopefully that's complete. I think that we have some help with a clear triple distribution profile to guide our trading and some pretty clear targets. The single prints will be a big help. I'll say this though, anytime we have a clear sort of pseudo over underline like the singles are, don't be surprised if the nothing day ends up being like choppy around here, or at least early, like meaning we push through, we're like, oh, what's going to happen? It's bullish. Then we push lower, we're like, oh, we checked and failed, and then it goes back through. So if we just chop around this area, just realize that let it hash out until we make our decision, whatever way that is. Could be either way, or maybe that decision doesn't come till tomorrow. But if we start chopping around this area, that's a dead giveaway that OTF is not sure about what they want to do here, and we need to wait. But that's all I got for you today. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully you're having a great morning. Hopefully your great morning continues. Any questions, ask me in the chat room. Always happy to help. And let's smash that like button. Try to get to 10,000 likes before we go 6,000 bid in the S&Ps. That's our mission here. The market is giving us a bit of time, so we'll try to hit that goal. But anyway, hope you have a great day. And most importantly, I hope that you have some goal today that helps you to improve your trading that is not dependent upon your P&L. That's what I got for you. Ciao.